Have you ever felt like there's something broken inside you? An anxiety that doesn't go away, a fatigue that doesn't rest? It's not your fault. We live in a world that trained us to believe we are only one name, one body, one mind. But what if I told you that you're not broken, you were dismantled? It's not depression, it's not weakness. It's the cry of 4 parts of your being that were separated and forgotten: the body, the mind, the emotions, and the spirit. And today, you'll discover how they are speaking to you, even now as you watch this video. Because you are not one, you are 4. And when they come together, nothing will be the same. There are 4 dimensions that coexist, interact, and shape every aspect of your reality. Ignoring any one of them is to live incomplete. Understanding each one is to awaken to the hidden code that governs your inner existence. These 4 dimensions are the 4 bodies. The physical body, the temple, the ground of experience. The emotional body, the river, the energy that feels and moves. The mental body, the air, the field of ideas, beliefs, and narratives. The spiritual body, the fire, the spark, the purpose that calls you. Have you ever noticed how sometimes your mind wants something, but your body won't cooperate? Or how everything seems fine rationally, but your emotions tell a different story? These internal conflicts are the result of the fragmentation of these 4 bodies. Each one screams in a different frequency, and you, caught in the middle, trying to make sense of the chaos. But here's the crucial point. Each body is a living intelligence. Each one speaks its own language. The physical body communicates through symptoms, the emotional through sensations, the mental through thoughts, the spiritual through intuitions and silences. When you begin to notice this, everything changes. Your pains stop being just problems. They become messages. Your blocks stop being enemies. They become portals. You begin to listen. And more than that, you begin to integrate. This view of the 4 bodies is not just a beautiful philosophy, it's an ancient technology of self-knowledge. Ancient civilizations already knew this. Shamans, alchemists, yogis, mystics, all spoke, in different words, of the same truth. The human being is multi-dimensional. Fragmentation is disease. Integration is healing. You can choose to live as if you were a phone trying to function with 25% battery. But your true power comes when the 4 bodies are in synergy. And that is the next step in your journey. If the 4 bodies are the dimensions of your existence, the elements of nature are the archetypes that live within each of them. They are deep codes that translate the functioning of your inner energy. They live in you. They are you. Since the dawn of humanity, the 4 elements, earth, water, air, and fire, have been used to represent fundamental aspects of life, but not just of the outer world. They are mirrors of your psyche, your physiology, your emotional and spiritual field. Understanding this is like receiving a secret map to navigate the inner chaos with more clarity and power. Earth is your physical body, your structure, your stability. It represents what is solid in you, your bones, your routine, your sustenance. When your earth is out of balance, you feel tired, confused, ungrounded. It's the body crying out for nourishment, presence, and rest. Water is the emotional body. It flows with the tides of feeling. It represents your ability to move, adapt, and transform. Repressed emotions are stagnant waters. Emotions that flow freely are creative rivers that nourish your soul. Air is the mental body. Your thoughts, your ideas, the stories you tell yourself. When air is in harmony, you have clarity, focus, and lightness. When it's in excess, the mind enters overthinking, judgment, and disconnection from the now. Fire is the spiritual body. It is desire, the will to live, passion, purpose. Fire is impulse. It is the divine spark within you. When it is balanced, it inspires, warms, and illuminates. When ungoverned, it consumes everything with anxiety, anger, or obsession. These elements don't act in isolation. They dance together within you all the time. When one dominates and the others are neglected, disharmony arises. When all of them are acknowledged and cooperate, integration is born. You don't have a body. You are a body. Not as a final identity, but as your first home. The body is the starting point and often the most neglected. While the spiritual world invites you to transcend and the mind makes you want to understand, the body just wants you to be present. It doesn't deal in theories or planning. It feels, reacts, and stores. It is the earth, the element of form, structure, and concrete experience. Your body is the temple of the soul, and like any temple, it holds portals. Portals to memories, traumas, potentials, and healing. When you ignore your body, you close those portals. When you listen to it, they open. But be aware, it speaks softly, a tightness in the chest, an unexplained nausea, persistent insomnia, a stiffness in the neck. All of these are messages, but we were taught to silence the body, take medicine, push the machine, ignore the pain, work until exhaustion. And in doing so, the temple becomes a prison. The body, which should be a channel for your vital energy, to manifest becomes a burden, a barrier, a weight. Reversing this starts with a radical act. Respect. Respect your biological cycles. Sleep when your body asks. Eat with presence. Touch the earth. Feel the sun. Move intuitively. Listen to the silence of nature as if receiving sacred advice. Physical regeneration doesn't come only from vitamins or supplements. It comes from reconnecting with the natural rhythm, with nature outside and within you. Your body is living earth. It needs clean air, living foods, deep rest, conscious movement. It's about inhabiting the body you already have with full presence. This body carries your story. It is the field where all the other bodies manifest. If it's blocked, the others are too. If it's awake, the others align. Start small. Place your bare feet on the ground for 5 minutes a day. Breathe deeply. Feel. That is already a new beginning. If the physical body is the foundation of your presence in the world, the emotional body is your internal compass. It shows you with disconcerting clarity where something is flowing and where it's stuck. But most people have learned to distrust emotions, to control or ignore them, as if feeling were a weakness or a risk, and that's where the problem begins. Have you noticed how certain situations, no matter how small, trigger disproportionate emotional reactions? Or how certain patterns repeat in your relationships at work or even in the way you treat yourself? That doesn't happen by chance. That's the emotional body trying to speak to you. It doesn't express itself through logic, it expresses through sensations, and it doesn't disappear just because you've decided not to pay attention. Water, as an element, represents movement. Emotions are energy in motion. When repressed, they become stagnant. When embraced, they flow and transform. Ignored anger becomes illness. Suppressed sadness turns into apathy. Suffocated fear becomes chronic anxiety. But when you allow yourself to feel without judgment, those emotions stop controlling you from the shadows and start working in your favor. The emotional body also holds memories your mind has already forgotten. Old traumas, childhood experiences, rejections, abandonments, all of it is stored there. That's why sometimes you know rationally that everything is fine, but you feel like something is wrong. Because your emotional body knows before your mind understands. Reconnecting with this intelligence begins with listening, not to analyze what you feel, but to truly feel it. This may be uncomfortable at first, especially if you've spent years repressing, but with practice and courage, you begin to distinguish between real emotion and automatic reaction. You begin to respond instead of react. In practice, this means making space for feeling, observing where in the body the emotions manifest, talking about what you feel with someone you trust, writing, crying, screaming if needed, and above all, stop apologizing for feeling. You are not feeling too much. You're just learning to feel without filters. That is emotional maturity. That is power. Understanding the emotional body means stepping out of autopilot and taking responsibility for what you create in your life, because everything you avoid feeling continues shaping you behind the scenes. The mind is where you build reality. Everything you believe, think, and interpret passes through the mental body. It's the operating system that organizes how you perceive the world, and more importantly, how you perceive yourself. The mental body is not the villain, but if it takes control without balance from the other bodies, it becomes a prison. A runaway mind creates worries, repeats patterns, crafts limiting stories, and convinces you that these stories are the absolute truth. And the most dangerous part is that you don't even realize you're trapped in them. Everything starts with thought, but thought becomes belief. Belief becomes behavior, and behavior becomes reality. That's why understanding how the mental body works is essential to breaking repeating cycles. There's no use trying to change your life if you keep feeding the same thoughts every day. Most people live in overthinking, compulsive thoughts, constant judgments, negative inner dialogue. This drains energy, creates anxiety, and disconnects you from the present. It's not that the mind is bad, but it needs direction. If you don't govern the mind, it governs you. And more, your mind is an electromagnetic field. Thoughts are not just random ideas, they have frequency. Constantly thinking about lack, fear, or frustration is not neutral. It directly affects the field around you, influences your decisions, and attracts situations that confirm this pattern. Starting to care for the mental body is like cleaning the house you live in every day. Reevaluate beliefs, question patterns, observe your thoughts without identifying with all of them. It's not about forced positive thinking, but about thinking with clarity, awareness, and purpose. Simple tools help a lot. Writing what you think, practicing silence, observing without judgment. This creates inner space. The mind needs breathing room, not more information. You are not what you think, but what you think repeatedly defines much of what you experience. Change the way you think and you change the field around you. The spiritual body is the most ignored by modern life, but it is also the most powerful. While the physical body deals with the tangible world, the emotional with feeling, and the mental with thinking, the spiritual body is about being. It is the source of your deepest desire to live with purpose. This body is not tied to religion, dogma, or specific mystical practices. It is connected to your vital energy, your essence, and the real reason you are here. The spiritual body is the fire that moves you, the impulse that can't be rationally explained, but that burns inside you when something truly makes sense. Every human being is born with this spark lit. Children have it naturally. Curiosity, a desire to explore, a sparkle in the eyes. But over time, this fire is dimmed. By the system, by culture, by poorly digested experiences. The result is a tired, resigned adult afraid to dream. The spiritual body falls asleep, and with it, the potential for transformation also sleeps. Awakening this body is a return to authenticity. It's when you stop living on autopilot and begin to truly question, why do I do what I do? Who is this life I'm living for? What do I really want, not what is expected of me? This fire also has polarities. When it's out, you feel lost, unmotivated, disconnected from life. When it's excessive and uncontrolled, it becomes haste, obsession, inflated ego, or impulsiveness. Balance happens when the inner fire is lit but directed, with clarity, with meaning. Activating the spiritual body is about recognizing something that's already inside. And this can begin with simple practices: silence, contemplation, connection with something greater than your ego. It can be nature, art, service to others, or meditation. What matters is that it brings presence and meaning. Living with the spiritual body awakened doesn't mean everything will be easy. It means everything will make sense, even the challenges, because you know why you're here and what you want to build with your existence. When your four bodies are not aligned, your life becomes a battlefield. And the worst part is that it happens silently, disguised as fatigue, indecision, lack of purpose, or crises that come out of nowhere. But the truth is simple. What is misaligned within disrupts everything outside. The mind wants to go one way, but the body locks up. The body asks for rest, but the mind pushes harder. The emotions scream for attention, but you block everything to be strong. The spirit calls, but you ignore it, trapped in routine. The result? Constant stress, disharmonious relationships, decisions that don't make sense, emotional health in collapse. This is the price of living fragmented. Many people try to solve this by treating just one part of the problem. They go to the gym to take care of the body, but ignore what they feel. They go to therapy to understand their emotions, but forget to move the body or silence the mind. They seek spirituality without physical presence or mental clarity. And then it all becomes a cycle of trial and frustration, because you can't heal in pieces what was made to function as a whole. Recognizing the conflicts between the bodies is the first step. Ask yourself, is my body aligned with the life I want to live, or is it tired, tense, ignored? Do my emotions have space, or do I pretend everything is okay all the time? Are my thoughts allies or saboteurs? Do I still feel connected to something greater, or am I just surviving? These questions bring clarity, and with clarity comes responsibility. Respecting sleep, naming what you feel, paying attention to what you think, pausing to hear the silence now and then. This isn't spiritual luxury, it's a survival necessity in a world that constantly drains energy. The signs of disharmony appear before everything explodes. Fatigue without an apparent cause, constant irritability, a sense of emptiness, anxiety, dissatisfaction with everything, even when everything is right. Ignoring these signs is allowing the internal war to grow until it becomes a collapse. When your four bodies begin to align, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, something shifts. You begin to notice reality responding differently. Things flow. Decisions become easier. Relationships become more genuine. You enter a state of coherence. Coherence is when what you think, feel, do, and believe follow the same direction. You no longer need to force things. The body has energy, the mind has focus. The emotions are clearer, and the spirit is present. This creates a stable internal field, and that field naturally begins to attract more aligned situations. This state is not perfection, not the absence of problems. It is clarity amid chaos. It is knowing who you are even when the world is falling apart. It is acting with awareness instead of reacting in desperation. You stop being controlled by your inner parts and start conducting the entire orchestra. People who live in this state transmit something different. They have presence. They have firmness but not rigidity. They have lightness but not superficiality. They are those who inspire just by existing because they are whole and that can be felt. In practice, living this symphony requires maintenance. It's not a fixed place you arrive at where everything is resolved. It's a daily practice of internal listening, conscious choice, and aligned action. It's paying attention to what you consume, not just food, but conversations, thoughts, environments. It is having the courage to adjust what's out of place, even if it's uncomfortable. There will be days when the body will need more attention. Others, the emotional will ask for space. The secret is to maintain active listening and a commitment to integration. You don't need to be 100% every day, but you need to be honest with yourself. When the four bodies work together, you become a bridge between the invisible and the concrete. Your body becomes a channel, your mind becomes a tool, your emotions become a compass, your spirit becomes direction. There is a deep wisdom in nature that most people ignore. Everything has rhythm. Nothing in life is linear, not growth, not healing, not awakening. Just as the earth goes through the 4 seasons, you also go through internal cycles that affect body, mind, emotions, and spirit. Each season represents a phase of the soul, and each one activates one of the 4 bodies more intensely. When you understand this, you stop being so hard on yourself and begin to cooperate with the process. Spring, mind, or air. The awakening. This is the time of new ideas, insights, plans. The mind becomes more active, creative, and curious. It's when you feel the urge to change, to start something, to break from the old. But be careful. Too many ideas without action can turn into frustration. Spring requires focus and direction. Take the opportunity to write, plan, learn, but without losing connection with the other bodies. Summer spirit or fire. The trial by fire. Here, the energy of fire dominates. You're in action, exposing yourself, creating, taking risks. It's the time of execution, expansion, and also of tests. Your purpose is challenged, your faith is tested. Summer requires courage, but also care with excess. Many burn out by not knowing when to stop. Keep the fire alive, but with awareness, autumn, emotions, or water. The fall of the old self. In autumn, emotions come to the surface. It's time to let go old patterns, relationships that no longer make sense, identities that have expired. Here you come into contact with what hurts, but also with what needs to be healed. It's a time to embrace, forgive, reflect, and release. Emotional detachment is necessary for the cycle to continue. Winter, body, or earth, the fertile void and rebirth. This is the phase of retreat. The body asks for rest, silence, pause. It's not depression, it's regeneration. Winter is not the end, it's the womb of the new. Here, you strengthen roots, recover energy, restructure your foundation. Those who respect the internal winter come back much stronger in the next spring. These cycles don't follow the calendar. They follow your process. You can be an external summer and in a winter of the soul. You may have a new project blooming in the mind while experiencing an emotional fall. The key is to observe honestly and respect where you are, without forcing the next phase. Living in tune with these seasons is to respect your biological, emotional, mental, and spiritual rhythm. And more than that, it's to understand that each phase has a purpose. There is nothing broken in you. You may just be out of season. Far beyond religion and dogma, the Bible holds deep codes of human transformation. And when viewed through a different lens, it ceases to be just a sacred book and becomes a symbolic map of the inner journey. That said, the 4 Gospels, Mark, Matthew, John, and Luke, each reveal a dimension of the human being, a direct bridge to the 4 bodies. This reading is not theological, it is archetypal, and when done consciously, it shows how each Gospel represents one of the 4 elements and, consequently, one of the 4 bodies. Mark, fire, spiritual body. The Gospel of Mark is pure action, direct, intense, no embellishments. It represents the fire of will, the spiritual impulse that moves and transforms. In Mark, Jesus appears as raw force in motion. This speaks to the spiritual body, the moment when the inner calling no longer asks for explanation, but for action. It's the phase of go and do. Not so much about the why, but with full presence. Matthew Air Mental Body. Matthew is the most analytical and structured. It brings genealogies, organized discourses, logic behind the actions. This gospel connects directly with the mental body. Here, the mind begins to understand the process, organize ideas, and create conscious narratives about what is happening. It's when rational understanding comes into play as a tool for alignment, not as an obstacle. John Water, Emotional Body. The Gospel of John is poetry, intimacy, emotional depth. It presents a more symbolic, loving Christ, more connected to feeling than to doing. John speaks of light, truth, the Word made flesh, language that speaks directly to the emotional. This is the body that feels, that moves through empathy, connection, love. It is where emotions meet the sacred. Luke, earth, physical body. Luke, a physician and observer of the human body, brings practical details and stories tied to material reality. He speaks of healing, birth, and embodiment. He represents earth, the physical body, the temple where everything happens. It is in the Gospel of Luke that the divine is revealed in the concrete experience of human life, in care, in presence, in incarnation. Looking at the Gospels this way completely changes your relationship with them. Instead of being merely historical or doctrinal accounts, they become mirrors of an inner process, keys to access and balance the four bodies. You may have a healthy body, flowing emotions, a clear mind, and an awakened spirit. But if you don't understand the subtle laws that govern reality, you'll keep running into invisible blocks. The external world follows physical laws, but the reality you create also obeys energetic laws, and they operate all the time, whether you're aware of them or not. When you begin to observe them, you understand why some things flow and others stall, even when you're doing everything right. Law of vibration. Everything is frequency. You, your thoughts, your emotions, even your words. Nothing is neutral. When you vibrate fear, insecurity, judgment, or scarcity, your field creates a reality that reflects that. The opposite is also true. When you vibrate trust, truth, presence, and gratitude, what you attract changes, and not always immediately, but inevitably. The emotional body is especially sensitive to this law. That's why working on your vibration isn't about forcing positivity, but about clearing what's heavy and opening up to feel what uplifts. High vibration isn't euphoria, it's internal coherence. Law of exchange. Nothing in nature is free. There is a constant exchange of energy. When you give, something returns. When you hold back, something stalls. Life responds to flow, not to control. This law is visible in relationships, in money, in opportunities. When you enter an imbalanced exchange, giving too much or only wanting to receive, reality responds with blockage, lack, confusion. This law also applies internally. If you want transformation, you must give something in return: time, presence, effort. Nothing is built without real energy investment. Law of words. What you speak shapes the field around you. Words are commands. Saying I'm bad at this is different from I'm learning. Saying this will never work creates more weight than saying I don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out. Your words form mental patterns that either feed or sabotage your reality. Pay attention to how you talk about yourself, how you describe your days, your challenges, your desires. That reveals where your energy is being directed. Law of sacred geometry. Everything has form, and form carries an energetic function. This applies to your body, your thoughts, and even the spaces you inhabit. The way you organize your home, your routine, your relationships directly influences your field. A chaotic environment creates mental confusion. A disorganized routine disrupts your energy. Creating structure, beauty, rhythm, and coherence is a form of spiritual alignment. External harmony strengthens internal harmony. Want to change your reality? Start by adjusting what's invisible, because that's where everything begins. If you want to master this connection with the universe and learn how to consciously manifest your reality, I invite you to the Quantum Thinking Challenge, a 21-day schedule where you'll reprogram your mind, raise your vibration, and unlock your full energetic potential. For 3 weeks, you'll have daily practices to transform your frequency and start attracting everything you desire. The first participants have already sent me incredible breakthroughs that are showing up in their lives. Are you ready for yours too? Access it in the first pinned comment.